Hello and welcome to day 120 of 365 days of Facebook Lives. My name is Jessica Lozano and I'm a women's relationship and feminine embodiment mentor, and I help women have extraordinary love lives. And speaking of extraordinary love lives, I have to share this with you today because I received a message from a dear friend about her relationship. And she came to me because, of course, I'm a relationship coach and all the things, and I give great advice. So, of course, my friends come to me whenever they're feeling some sort of dissonance in their relationship, and I'll give them like a 1, 2, 3, this is what you need to do, boom, boom, boom. And, I don't play around. I tell them where they need to hold more radical responsibility for themselves and where they're putting too much attention on their partner and not focusing enough on themselves, and what to do in the actual relationship to start shifting where they are and to see what are your next steps about where you are in your relationship. So when I received this message today, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about when you become vulnerable with yourself and vulnerable, like so raw and open with your partner about where you are, about your life, and including the past that you may have shame around, that for whatever reason, it's really important to talk about in your relationship. And that will create, when you're able to go there, it'll create such a huge opening in your heart, not just for you, but for him. And what that does in your relationship, it will be a level of intimacy and love that you've never known before, and a fortifying of your relationship, because you were able to open your heart in an area where you felt a lot of shame about, where you felt a lot of guilt about, where you felt a lot of things about, and to share that open and vulnerably with your partner, with your man, with the safe man, by the way. This cannot be done with just anybody unless you're really ready and able and you know how to hold yourself. And he can witness you and he can be there, and you guys can have this really heart-opening conversation. No ego, just the two of you. Girl, let me tell you, it does wonders. It does wonders, and you feel like a strengthening, like a fortifying of your love. I had that experience about a couple years ago with Ron when it came to money, because money was one of the areas that I was holding a lot of shame in, and I had to sit down there and show everything, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and I physically felt that sensation in my body. But after that, we had this, I was like, holy shit. It was like power meets power, but in a way of vulnerable power meets vulnerable power. And then we have grown in our love and in our relationship and in our strength. So with my friend, so this live is for you, is if you are having a fear of infidelity, right? You're having a fear of infidelity, whether you've been cheated on in the past, whether you've seen it happen in your relationship with your parents, right? Mother cheated on father, mother cheated on father, or father cheated on mother, some type of history in your life where you've seen this happen in your life. You've been cheated on, or maybe you have cheated on somebody else, and therefore there's this fear of infidelity. There's this fear of being cheated on in your relationships, right? I've created this live for you because I want to help you move past this energy, so that number one, you don't create partners that are going to cheat on you, so you don't manifest this in your life anymore. And number two, if you're in a relationship right now where there's that fear and your partner hasn't done anything, you've been probably snooping around on his phone to see if he's done anything, right? Like that part of you that's like, I don't trust him, or I don't trust men. I need to make sure, I need to look, I need to do things. And now that's starting to have conflict in your relationship, right? And perhaps maybe there's some, I wouldn't say it's starting to create conflict in your relationship. How do I say this? And perhaps there is something that he's doing that isn't necessarily bad, but where he definitely needs to mature a little bit more, right? He just needs to mature a little bit more, where he's maybe not cutting the cord fully with an ex. Maybe he's looking at like porno or looking at women on Instagram and things like that's very inappropriate. They're like, why are you looking at women like this, right? And like, it's just something that you feel that, number one, is not respectful to your relationship. And number two, you're like, just something just feels off about it, right? And the number thing I want you to know is this. If you feel off about something, I want you to honor that. I don't want you to gaslight yourself, all right? I want you to honor exactly what you're feeling, because what you're feeling is probably true. And it doesn't mean that your partner is necessarily going to cheat on you. It doesn't mean that he's actually going to do something negative for the relationship. It's just not conducive, and it's creating leaks in your relationship, which probably in the future, if these types of things continue, can cause other things. It could cause not necessarily infidelity, but the way that he's not able to maybe fully cut it off with his mother. And then that starts to affect your relationship. How maybe he's easily manipulated and doesn't really have like a backbone in other areas of your life, and then it starts to creep into your relationship, right? So these are the things that you can find in your relationship with your partner that just feel off, that don't feel right, and you know that there's a solidification that needs to happen to solidify your love, to fortify and strengthen your love based on healing and alchemizing our own shit and our own fears. Okay? So this is who I've created this live for. So if you know a woman in your life who is experiencing these types of things, please share this with her. Please share this with her. I'm telling you right now, this is going to change. If you do exactly what I'm telling you to do, this will change everything. And if you want assistance with this, I have my one-on-one intensives called Extraordinary Lover, which is a 75-minute call. And then we do 4 weeks of Telegram coaching, which in my opinion is one of the best tools ever in the coaching industry. Because as you are doing the things that we've talked about, you get to message me right away on the spot of like, hey, Jessica, I did this. Hey, Jessica, I did these things that we're going through. This is what I'm feeling. Hey, and we move the energy fast, right? These are $555. I'm telling you right now, it will be the best $555 that you spend in your relationships with deep hands-on work in there. It could radically shift everything. I have helped women shift radically everything in just 24 hours. So can you imagine what can we do together in 4 weeks? A lot. I have helped women shift timelines in 4 weeks. Not even joking. So, and if I also have another option, which is just a 175-minute love and intimacy call. So that is, I'm not sure exactly what the price is. I have to go look at that, but it will be less than half of what a one-on-one intensive, which we can still go through a lot of groundbreaking work in that 1 hour time. So don't underestimate also 1 hour together, because that is very powerful. So if you know of a woman, please share this with her, because I don't want to see women harden, right? Because this is one of the things that happen. Women get hard. Their hearts start to harden. They don't know how to be raw and vulnerable and authentic. So then they start to take it out on their partner. They start yelling at their partner. They start creating fights with their partner. Their partner isn't listening to them. They're not hearing them. Instead, it creates a fight. Instead, it creates more distance. Instead, the love that was there starts to little by little just like start breaking away, bickering and resentment, and both sides are just feeling disconnected, and it could really lead to a breakup. It could lead to more problems, right? And I don't want you to have that, and I don't want you to continue to create the same things that you have created in your life. And I want to help you assist also your partner and to be vulnerable with you. Okay? This is the objective here. So please share this. Please share this. Okay, so one of my favorite quotes that I've ever had, like in my life, that there's not many quotes that I keep up in this brain. There's not a lot, but there's a few that I love and that I always go to. And one of them was in the Course in Miracles. It's a metaphysical text channeled by this woman, this atheist woman, actually. I think she was atheist. She was in psychology. And then it was through Jesus is the one that came and channeled through her. So in this book, it's a very basic principles between moving from fear to love. And that in the Course in Miracles, that is what is considered a miracle. Whenever you move from a place of fear to love, you just had a miracle. And they could be from as small as just shifting your perspective, that's a miracle, or it could be like a huge quantum leap, that's a miracle. Timeline shifting, that's a miracle. That is considered a miracle. Anytime you initiate yourself to higher levels of consciousness, that is a miracle. Okay, so one of the quotes that's in there, it says, "You are never upset for the reason you think." You are never upset for the reason you think. And what I love about this quote is it really speaks to your subconscious, that if you react to something right here in this moment, you are reacting to something in the past. I wonder if my headphones are, hold on a second. I just wanted to make sure my Bluetooth was off, because sometimes it connects to my headphones if I didn't turn off that, or it can connect to Alexa or the whatever. So I don't want that to happen. You're never upset for the reason you think, which is speaking to your subconscious, which is speaking to a past trauma, little t, big T, right? To a past event, circumstance that is causing you to react right now, in this moment, right now, to be triggered, to feel pain body, to be explosive, to freeze, to fawn, to like attack, right? There is something that is related to the past that is causing this, or else you wouldn't have that type of reaction. You would have a neutral reaction, or you would just be able to respond, right? You would respond. Reaction is that reactive, like you're reactivating something. Respond is like you are responding to something. There's some, like, I don't know what spond means, but you're not activated, basically, right? I wonder what sponding is, actually. I should probably look that up. So I bring that up because when it comes to fearing infidelity, there could be many things that are happening here that have nothing to do with your partner. And that you are projecting a fear from the past into the present moment about the future. My friend that I'm sharing you about has her father has cheated on her mother with anyone and anything. Okay, really bad, very bad situation. Mother has cheated on father. They're still together. Very messed up dynamic there, because there's a lot more. They haven't really fully moved on from this whole situation, but they've decided to stay together. I'm not sure if she's necessarily been cheated on, but I know that she has cheated on her partners. So when she comes to me about her partner, and how they're having certain conversations. And whenever he asks about her past, because he knows, she gets defensive. This is making me really uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to talk about this, and gets very hard, right? Your past experiences with parents, past lovers, even yourself, if you have not forgiven, if you have not created a miracle in those spaces, you are going to recreate that in your present moment reality with your partner. You will. You will, you will, you will. Your ability to forgive releases you from the frequency of all of that. If you have not forgiven yourself, if you've not forgiven your ex-partners, if you've not forgiven your parents or main caregivers, you are holding it's like a chain that's attached to you, keeping you, like, you want to go up, but it just keeps pulling you back down. No matter how much other work you've done, this chain is just like right there. It's like, no, you're not going to go that far, young lady. We'll extend this chain. It can seem like you're really moving out of this frequency that you have here, but you may just touch the rim of it, but you're still here. Forgiveness sets you free. It's not about the other person, it's about you. Because in the lack of forgiveness, there's anger, there's sadness, there's all these feelings, and then there's projection. There's projection onto other men. There's projection onto other women. And then you can't trust. You can't trust men, you can't trust women. Shit, you can't even trust yourself if you've cheated on someone. So how could you possibly trust other people with your heart? So forgiveness sets you free. Forgiveness releases you from the past so that you're no longer have a veil over your face, not allowing you to see the truth of what is, and not allowing you to have open-hearted conversations, and is not allowing you to use your own discernment and your own intuition. So you have to forgive the past. It will set you free, and it allows you to connect to your truth and what is best for you from this really whole aligned place. Not from this place of attack, not from this place I can't trust men, not from this place all women are home wreckers. It's not from that place. You're able to make a decision from your wholeness and from what actually is right in front of you, and have conversations about whatever your current situation is in your relationship. Or if you're single and you're watching this because you've been repeatedly cheated on, or you always have men that are sketchy, you will have a radar to find these men and cut it off before things get intimate. You will not be in the same frequency of that, because you are the center of that magnetic pole. You are the center of attraction. So if you're holding on to all this infidelity, all this pain from the past, you're a magnet to exactly that, because like attracts like. That's the law. Like frequencies attract like frequencies. That's what that means when like attracts like. Now, forgiveness isn't always easy. Forgiveness can be tough, can be a lot of emotions, can be a lot of rage, can be a lot of things that come up. And I want you to know that all it is that you are feeling uncomfortable. You are feeling uncomfortable, but you are safe to experience this because you are creating the right situations and circumstances to express everything that's there. I talk about this a lot in the Elevated Woman in Relationships. Our Elevated Woman, it's a 3-day masterclass, which, by the way, with my one-on-one intensives, you get one masterclass or one program, mini program type of thing that will be beneficial to your growth and what we are specifically talking about. So in the Elevated Woman Masterclass, I walk you through these processes, and I also walk you through through 3 processes that will actually help you a lot in this specific situation that you're in. Number 1, to feel, so you're able to forgive and move on and validate exactly what you've experienced, what you're experiencing. Number 2, it gives you a feminine embodiment practice where it allows you to alchemize and move the energy out of your body, which is also really important, especially if there's things that are being very activated in your field with your partner that are like just making you so angry and making you like your hands shaking, all the things. And you know better to have a conversation like that, because when you have a conversation like that, it does not end well. Instead, you just push your push him further away. So by doing this practice, it allows you to alchemize, to release the energy that you're feeling and see truth, see clarity, see peace. Know what your exact next moves are for the relationship. How am I going to talk? Now that I'm clean and purified, now that I'm all available to see with a clear lens, how can I have this conversation? And in that alchemization process, you'll feel the things that are your responsibility that you need to also address within yourself. And then the third thing in this masterclass is the self-leadership and how to continue moving while things are going very chaotic, right? So in this masterclass, I talk about all these 3 things, and this is a process that will help you to forgive and release the past that are keeping you in this frequency so that you can work through all the pain, all the sadness that you have to release from the past. These are the 3 tools. So this releases that pole of attraction of cheaters, liars, infidelity, and your own shame and your own guilt and your own all of those things. When you do these things, you start to release that. That is no longer your center of attraction. Like, it's like you cleanse and you purify all of that grime out of there, right? So by looking first here within you, instead of focusing so much on him and the people outside, you're taking radical responsibility for yourself and create change from the inside out, right? What you're feeling inside is going to be projected outside. If you cannot be vulnerable with yourself, you cannot invite a man to be vulnerable with you. Right? So if you're in this place, right, where you have trust issues for whatever reason, you've been cheated in the past, you've seen it very frequently with your mother and father, you've done it yourself, and he's done something that isn't cheating and isn't any of that. It just feels off. And you know that he needs to create either stronger boundaries. He, needs to stop looking at women on the internet for whatever reason. Small little things, nothing too big, nothing where it's crazy obsessive, but you know that it's just not solidifying your relationship. It's creating leaky holes in your relationship, right? And you've tried to address this and it didn't come out good. It didn't come out good. It came out probably very judgmental, probably very criticizing. Maybe he got really defensive. And then it just started this huge blow up fight. Now you're creating scenarios in your head about all these things, about someone he's keeping in contact with that he hasn't had the balls to cut it off, right? Not that he's not cheating, okay? These are just behaviors that you're like, ugh, like this isn't good for our relationships. Like, you trust him right? There's like a trust in him, but there's things that he's doing that just doesn't feel quite right. All of these things are happening. The missing ingredient here is your own vulnerability. Is your own vulnerability to have a conversation with him. To invite him to talk about what you saw and why it means to you what it means to you. If you attack your partner, you've already lost. You're not going to get what you want from him when you attack him. Because as soon as you start attacking, he already has his shield up, he already has his fist up, and he's already trying to create walls to protect himself from you, which makes him close down and doesn't make him open up. The opposite of what you want from your partner. So when you do these processes that I have just said, you're creating vulnerability within yourself. When you are vulnerable with yourself and you have walked yourself through those uncomfortable conversations with yourself, uncomfortable sensations, uncomfortable emotions, then can you invite your partner into that conversation with you? Because there's a softness, there's an openness, there's a no ego to this conversation. There is vulnerability, curiosity, and let's talk. Your softness and your openness, it still means you have a spine, okay? We're not like freaking loosey-goosey here and like have no spine and have no discernment. That's not what I'm saying here. But your softness and your open heart, when this center here is open to him, he can then drop down into his heart and have a conversation with you. And you can share all the things you want to share from a place of openness, feeling, and what feels really good for you, and what he can do to support. He gets to hear you. He gets to feel you. He gets to talk to you. He gets to ask you questions about your life. He gets to say all these things, the things that you probably wanted to hear. You may ask some questions that are uncomfortable. You may ask some questions that are uncomfortable, but together with an open heart and vulnerability and raw truth and honesty, you can have a beautiful conversation that leads to the most intimate places in your heart with him. Mature, extraordinary lover conversation where he gets to see like, oh my God, wow, you're right. You know, it's been really hard to completely cut off my ex because she's in this abusive relationship and I just want her to feel like she's okay so she doesn't do anything stupid, but I understand that she's not my responsibility and I can see how this is affecting our relationship, how it's not honoring us. And you're right, she's not my responsibility and I want to do right by you. I want to do right by you. So I'm going to tell her, you know, that this we can no longer be in contact and we can no longer be Instagram, Facebook friends, all the things, Snapchat friends, whatever it is. And he can say that from a place where he's not just saying words to you. He's like, you feel it, like, oh my God, like, and he follows through with it and you feel so supported and you feel he has risen up. He has risen to the occasion for you because of how you communicated to him and because you took care of everything within first. This is the most important thing. You have to take care of it within you, or what I just shared with you will not happen. If you do not, because then you're focusing it all on the outside, thinking that it's everything outside, and you haven't taken a look in here. You are a center of attraction. You change everything. Now, if you've done all the work, you've done all of these steps that I've told you, you have this conversation, and he does not rise up to the occasion, then you got your information. You got all the information, and now there's some thinking that you need to do. There's some thinking of, okay, what's my next steps here? Because clearly he's not protecting my heart. Okay? Then you know what to do. You can't change people. They need to change themselves. But I will tell you right now, once you change yourself, everything else around you will change. It will alchemize your relationship. It will fortify it to a stronger union. Or you will start to see the dissonance and you will just start to float away. You'll be like, no, you just confidently pass. Let me see. I have some notes here. Make sure I spoke about everything. Yeah, you got to make peace with yourself and the past, or it will repeat. Nor will it create a vulnerable moment with your man to heal. Open, vulnerable communication without expectation. I think that's the other thing here, to have open and vulnerable communication, is to have conversation without expectation. I think that's the key when we're having a vulnerable conversation, and when you're in this really crucial moment in your relationship, right, where you're building trust, where you're exposing things that are very edgy, that are very scary, that you have a lot of shame, all of the things. It's really important to, when you're having these conversations, I think this is where the ego comes out, where there's no expectation as to where the result of this conversation is going to lead. Like, I'm coming here open-hearted. I'm going to share from my heart. I'm going to share how I feel. I'm going to share what I want and what I need from you. You know, you're going to share, you're going to ask questions. I'm going to ask questions, and there's no expectations. And we're going to see how everything evolves and how it grows as we're continuing to talk and to open up. Hopefully you get to this place of this deep emotional intimacy where you're like, oh my God, we shared all of these things together, and like we feel so strong and united, and we both up leveled, and I've seen how like I wasn't serving her and I cut these ties off completely, and I've deleted these things, or I started to show up differently, and she's starting to show up softer and open because she didn't harden. Instead, she opened up to it. This is what's available. And having the most incredible sex. You should see the text messages that she sent me. She's like, oh my God, they're sending me all these text messages about what happened because I gave her the same advice that I'm giving you. The same advice. I would need a lot of emotional intelligence and maturity though. Yeah, definitely. Which is why you have to do all of these things first. Working on your own internal world and knowing how to communicate from a place and knowing when your triggers are. Like if you're having this kind of conversations, it could still reactivate something. You can still pause and be like, hey, kind of activated right now. I need to take a break. That's part of emotional intelligence too. Knowing when you need to pause and continue the conversation, knowing that the conversation can be a multiple layered conversation. It doesn't have to resolve right now. That for me has been a big thing in my emotional intelligence, is like, okay, I don't need to solve this right now. I can wait a couple of, like, we can have like 5 conversations about the same topic, you know, because it's a big conversation to have for whatever reason. That to me has helped my emotional intelligence, so I wouldn't get frustrated and start yelling and try to make my partner see exactly what I'm seeing. Instead, I would just like take a break. Like, okay, let's, you know, go along our days and not feel angry at each other either in the middle of that. Just kind of like still communicate, not have the cold shoulder, not do any passive aggressive things or whatever. and still move on with our day and then have the conversation again. And be like, hey, can we talk about this? You know, can we have a moment? Which is really important for women, to ask your partner when is like, hey, honey, I would really love to talk to you about this thing. When is a good time for you? I would really love to talk more about our relationship and some things that have come up, and when would be a really good time for you? You let him decide, you let him problem solve, so you're not thinking this for him. He finds a time in the day. He says, okay, tomorrow at noon, is that? And then you're like, okay, great, that works great for me. He may say right now, he may say a week. If it's a week's too long, then you can really ask him, like, is there any time, anything a little bit closer? Why do you do this? It's because men are of the head of the consciousness. They're always up here thinking, problem solving, trying to figure things out. They're not in their hearts. And you want them to hear you and listen to you. So when you ask them this, they know, okay, I have an appointment with my woman and we're going to talk about some shit. Let me make sure I'm dropping it in. Let me make sure I'm available. Let me make sure that like I'm clear my calendar, right? And then you have this conversation. Now, sometimes it doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes you have just these really raw conversation because for whatever reason it just comes up. But I do suggest that you make an appointment with your partner. The example that I gave earlier in this live, I made an appointment with Ron. I was like, can we please, I have something I really want to share with you about this investment that I want to make, and can we talk about this? It was a big conversation with me, huge. I had a lot of shame around this subject. Wanted to talk to him about it because, you know, there's a lot of history, a lot of distrust, as a matter of fact, in this conversation with money. Right? It wasn't love. It wasn't infidelity in the sense of another person, but there was a trust factor in this conversation, which is still a big thing. I think one of the main top 3 reasons why couples divorce or break up is finances, children, and sex, right? I think these are the 3 reasons. So money is a big conversation to have in a relationship. So it was a big conversation to have for me, and I made that appointment. And I said to myself, okay, I was like, okay, listen, he's going to ask you questions. It's okay for him to ask questions. He has every right to ask questions and to understand what you want to invest into. And he's going to ask about your money, and he's going to talk about all these things, and we're going to talk about his money. We're going to talk about all the things, right? And we had this open conversation, beautiful conversation. It was like a couple of days long. And at the end, we agreed, like, okay, yes, let's make this investment for you, for me. And I remember at the end feeling like, holy shit, whoa, that was a powerful conversation. It was like power beats power. It's like we cleared so much in that conversation. This is why it's really important to have that appointment so you're both ready, and for you to prepare yourself if there's anything that you need to prepare. Like, I prepared myself knowing that Ron just loves to ask a lot of questions. That's part of how his brain works. So I had to prepare myself mentally for that as well. So yes, it does require emotional intelligence and maturity, but every single person is capable of this. Every single person is capable of emotional intelligence and maturity. You have to believe that within yourself. If you know that you're going into a conversation and you know your emotional intelligence is going to get triggered, you know that you need to have a little bit more maturity, then you need to level up. You need to level up and own that part of you and say, okay, I'm going to work on this. And these are the things that I need to work on. I'm going to actively go into this conversation and know that I'm going to be more present with my emotions. If I get triggered, I'm going to pause. If I need to be more mature about something, okay, what are the things that I need to be more mature about? Right? We got to take radical responsibility. So yeah. So that concludes this live. So if you know of any woman who has been struggling with this, please share this live with her. It will help her out so much, and it will start to change the frequency, number one, in herself, and change the trajectory in her relationship. And like with my friend, I was like, as soon as she messaged me today, I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm talking my live about, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. Once she opened up, when she cleansed everything within her, talked about it with her partner vulnerably. She's like, I did everything you said. And she shared how they had the most amazing sex, how they're both like, my God, he's like, I've never been so open and vulnerable with this, like this with someone. She's like, me either. Like, it unified their relationship. It opened to the possibility of how good a relationship can feel. And I want you to feel the same way. So if you know a woman who would benefit from this, please share this with her. And if she needs further support, I have my one-on-one intensives where we can really, really, really dive deeper and have the support that you need as you're walking yourself through this. And we can create so much change in a month. It's only $555. It will radically change your relationship. Or we can just do a one-off 75-minute call, which is still equally as powerful, just a smaller investment, and there's no 4-week Telegram coaching. So if you're interested in that, message me and we can talk more about that. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining live, Mapaya. I love you so much. And I will see you guys tomorrow.